Before Resident Evil become like this, and this, or even this,
welcome to the family, son.
it used to look like this,
We're almost a Jill sandwich.
this, and this, and it all started back in 1996. Before Resident Evil became what it is now, all these different versions of itself, it was something completely different. And today we're starting to go through every game in the series in release order. Because over the last 30 years, Resident Evil has managed to be pure survival horror, full-on action, a bunch of weird experiments, and a franchise that just keeps remaking itself over and over again. I already had a series of short about this, but as you can probably imagine, there is no way to say everything I want to say about this series into 1 minute. So now this is going to be a full series of longer videos where I can finally go through all the games properly and talk about everything I actually want to talk about. I also want to look at what exactly became a genre classic in this series, what ideas carried over game to game, and what didn't really work and ended up being abandoned by developers. Please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos in this series, and also check out my social media, Patreon and Discord server. So get comfortable, grab something tasty to snack on, and let's dig through all these remasters, remakes, spin-offs, underground labs, and all these goddamn virus. The game originally came out on the PlayStation 1 and later made its way to the Sega Saturn and the Nintendo DS. And by the way, if you want to play the original Resident Evil now, it's available through PlayStation Plus Premium and also on GOG and also on Steam now. Literally, they just added OG games to Steam. This is the game where the whole franchise began. Chris Redfield and Jill Valentine, members of STARS, end up in a mansion in Arklay Mountains and gradually discover that the string of brutal murders isn't caused by anything supernatural. It's the result of Umbrella's biological experiments. This is basically where the DNA of the entire series is created. Just look at it. Tiny inventory, check. Mansion, check. Zombies, check. Zombie dogs, check. Files and notes, check. Puzzles, check. Locked doors and keys, check. Underground lab, check. Helicopter at the end, check. Healing herbs, check. Save room, magic item box, ink ribbon to save, fix camera, doors, but it mostly because of the small console memory. But anyway, Capcom basically assembled almost the entire Resident Evil starter pack in the very first game. One of the most interesting things about the development is that the game grew out of the ideas from Sweet Home. Some people say the developers almost wanted to make a remake of Sweet Home, while others say they were just heavily inspired by it. Either way, that influence is definitely there. And honestly, for its time, the game looked really good, especially compared to a lot of other PlayStation 1 games coming out around then. And the huge reason for that was the very smart use of pre-rendered backgrounds. So basically, the backgrounds is this beautiful detailed image, almost like a JPEG, and the characters just move on top of it. That allowed them to make the game look way more detailed. The first game also got some interesting re-releases. In 1997, Resident Evil Director's Cut came out, where the developers adjusted some things, added new costumes, changed the place of certain items and enemies, and also introduced a new difficulty mode. Then, in 1998, Resident Evil DualShock version came out, which added analog control using the stick on the new DualShock controller, and of course, vibration as well. If you had a PlayStation 1 as a kid and played the very first Resident Evil game, definitely share your story in the comments. But now, let's move on. Just like the first game, it originally launched on the PlayStation 1 and later come to the Nintendo 64, Dreamcast, GameCube and Windows. In the second game, the action moves from a single mansion to an entire doomed city. And the focus here isn't just claustrophobia anymore, it's the scale of the disaster. Rookie cop Leon S. Kennedy and Claire Redfield are trying to survive in Raccoon City, where the outbreak has already gone completely out of control. And this was obviously a huge step for the series. If the first game was saying like, look, there is one terrifying incident in one terrifying place, then the second game is saying, no guys, this is way worse. Now the whole city is going to hell. One of the most interesting development fact is that when game was already almost finished, Capcom decided it wasn't interesting enough and felt too dull, so they basically started over. That early version eventually became the legendary Resident Evil 1.5. And yes, instead of Claire, there was originally a completely different female character, Elsa Walker. So, even by the second game, you can already see that developers wanted to make the series faster, bigger, more cinematic, and in some ways more action-heavy. And if you look at the franchise as a whole thing, you can really see Capcom moving to that direction step by step. So, honestly, you can already start asking the question here. Did Resident Evil stop being that original Resident Evil as early as the second game? Let me know what you think in the comments. But at the same time, all the classic Resident Evil ingredients are still here. It's just instead of a mansion, we now have a police station filling basically the same role. Locked doors, keys, puzzles, biological horror, underground lab, of course. It's all still here, just the way we like it. And I really love how scenarios work in this game. When you are playing as Claire, for example, you keep running into Leon, and then when you start Leon's route, you see some of those same moments from the other side. Yes, there are definitely some gameplay weird things, especially if you think too hard about the logic of certain puzzles, but the idea of these parallel stories works really well there. It's honestly a shame that the remake simplified that system so much, but we will get to that much later. And of course, you can already see the developers' love for Easter eggs, self-references, and fan service. The Star's office itself is such a great little detail. And then there are the bosses. Not only do we fight Birkin multiple times in multiple forms, but we also get Mr. X. The whole game feels like it's shouting, look at us, we are bigger, louder, more cinematic and more modern now. Which OG your favorite? Let me know in the comments. As for me, RE2 of course. Such a unique game. No wonder I love both OG and remake. So anyway, let's go further. Like the previous two games, it first came out on the PlayStation and later made its way to Dreamcast, GameCube and eventually GOG. A fun development fact. The game originally started out either as an expansion to Resident Evil 2 or just a smaller, non-numbered side game, but only a few months before release, it was officially turned into Resident Evil 3. Story-wise, this is Jill Valentine's attempt to escape a dying Raccoon City while being hunted by Nemesis. A special umbrella bioweapon created not just to kill, but specifically to eliminate members of STARS. And while RE2 made the city feel like a chaotic disaster, this game is all about constant pressure. Nemesis turns almost every quiet moment into a threat. You can never relax because at any second the game can go, oh, and here he is. Too bad that in a remake, Nemesis is not as much horrific as an OG. And one thing I personally love is that fact that this game begins a few hours before Resident Evil 2 and ends after it. So Resident Evil 3 is basically both a prequel and a sequel to Resident Evil 2 at the same time. I think that's a really cool detail, right? At the same time, I wouldn't say the game suddenly becomes radically more action-heavy than the RE2. Yes, it's faster, yes, it feels more energetic, there are more weapons and ammos, but you can still obviously feel that classic Resident Evil DNA in it. Puzzles, locked doors, narrow corridors, constant tension. It's just because the game is shorter and everything feels more concentrated and compact, you know? And with that, the first big Raccoon City trilogy comes to the end. But don't worry, we are definitely coming back to this city again, more than once. You can call these 3 games a trilogy, but even though they look similar on the surface, they actually feel very different. And that's one of the biggest features of Resident Evil as a series. Even the shooting feels different. I'm not sure how to explain it exactly, but the way combat feels in the first game is not the same as it feels in the third game. The fear changes too. In the first game, I was scared to open the next door. In the second game, I was scared of Tyrant, and honestly, I could keep listing examples like that for a long time. But the main point is that by the end of the 90s, Resident Evil had basically reinvented and in many ways popularized survival horror. And starting with RE2, Capcom was already improving its own formula, and they would go to invent themselves more than once. But today, that's it. Next time we are going to talk about Code Veronica, and I honestly can't wait because I'm actually playing it right now. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Little boop on the nose for you. Please show some love if you enjoyed the video. Like and subscription would really help to channel grow. And guys, check out my social media. Patreon, where I post exclusive content twice a week for just $1, but it really helps me keep making videos for you. And of course my Discord server, where basically around 24/7. So welcome. Love you guys. See you soon. Bye.